cycle 61, momentum day A, starting with those 2-2-2 drills that we've been doing. So the first 2-minute drill will be a good morning plus a calf raise. So for good morning, you're gonna cue them to find that hinge and drive your hips back to 9 o'clock on a clock face. Knees are gonna be softly bent or a subtle bend, kind of like a stiff leg RDL, because we don't want them to lock the knees out in that hinge, but we also don't want them bending so much that it turns more into a deadlift or a squat, okay? So to get into that position, we're gonna two-hand clean, making sure they're staying nice and tall and stacked. Elbows are off to the side, not chicken wing, but also not tucked in here, okay? Squeezing the armpits to keep that stability. So you're gonna drive the hips back to that 9 o'clock, soft bend in the knee, come all the way tall into that calf raise, making sure that they're not throwing their hips forward as they hit that calf raise. So they're maintaining that core control with a nice flat back, eyes are forward, come all the way tall, stand straight up, okay? With that calf raise, if you see anybody who's like rolling their ankles out, try to cue them to stay over that second, third toe as they come into the heel raise. Any of our members who have a history of ankle sprains are going to be more likely to kind of roll in or out at that ankle, so making sure you're giving them that cueing to give them a little extra in their workout is going to be really great. The second exercise for that first 2-minute block is going to be an alternating lateral split squat. So again, you're going to have them bring that bell up. You're going to take a wider stance, because the difference with a split squat versus a lunge is you're already sort of preset into the feet, and then you're just gonna take them out to the side like so, okay? Similarly to the lateral lunge, you wanna make sure that they are using the hips so that as they shift their weight to the side, they're loading and utilizing all 3 of those joints versus staying too far in the knee and staying upright in the trunk. So making sure they're utilizing that hip as they hit that lateral position of that split squat. The next 2-minute drill is gonna be a traveling cone shuffle. We want this to be a little bit more lateral, so they're gonna come kind of on the side, and we want a little bit of a zigzag pattern so they have to change direction. I would say have a minimum of 3 cones set up for this one. We're gonna start here, they're gonna shuffle, shuffle, okay? So ideally more cones is gonna give them more space to shuffle. If you wanna give them a little extra, you can make them go backwards, or as soon as they're finished, they're gonna wait their turn, go back the other direction, so that working both directions, okay? Making sure they're staying low in that sort of athletic stance as they hit that shuffle, okay? Your last grouping of 2-2-2 drill, it's hard to say, is gonna be sprawls, and then they're also gonna do a traveling skip. So kind of think like a power skip for this one. So for that sprawl, you're doing kind of like half of a burpee. So for your sprawl, you're gonna be in that squat stance, hands go down, send the legs out, come back. Hands go down, send the legs out, come back. Making sure they're keeping that trunk stable as best they can, so not over rounding. And as they hit the sprawl, make sure that they are still trying to find plank versus dropping their hips to the ground. Okay, so coming here, keeping that core tension as they jump out, coming back, okay? For that traveling skip, if you want to set up some cones so that people know where they're trying to go to, but the biggest thing is kind of thinking like you would for a layup. So you're trying to go really big, really big into that movement. I haven't done a layup in a long time. So you're trying to really drive from that leg to hit that traveling skip, okay? So those are your 2-2-2 drills for day A. Okay, so moving into our sort of rotational exercises for day A of momentum, we're gonna start with that strength and agility block. So your first exercise is gonna be a single leg hop with a knee drive on the stepper. So with these steppers, you can set them to varying levels. So this is on the lowest one. You can slide the red piece out to go to a second height, or you can flip it around and put it on the bottom to go for a third higher height. So for this one, you're gonna have one foot on the step, and they're doing a hop and a knee drive. Okay, trying to make sure that they're coordinating those arms to get a bigger drive up into the air. If you have individuals that don't want to do a hop, you can just have them control into a single leg lateral step with that knee drive, so they're still getting that single leg stability, but they're taking the impact of the hop out. Your second exercise at Strength and Agility is going to be this hurdle salsa drill. I would demo the ones that I'm not coordinated with, but it's great. We're all going to get through this together. So hurdle salsa, you're going to start on one side. You're going to step over with the outside leg, 1, 2. Step over with the outside leg, 1, 2. So they can go slow, or they can try to speed it up. If anybody feels silly in class, you can show them this video, because I clearly am not coordinated for this exercise. But it's a good one because it's going to help with coordination and some rotational stability with single leg. Okay. Moving on to the power block for day A for momentum. Exercise 1 is going to be a hurdle hop to box jump, and then exercise 2 is going to be a single arm swing to high pull to snatch. Okay, so for the hurdle hop to box jump, you just want to make sure they have enough space between the two so that they can then kind of rebound hop onto the box and make sure it's not too far away, because then they're really going to be reaching too far to try to get that box jump. Okay, so you want to make sure that they are absorbing the load, and as they land on the box, making sure they're trying to be as quiet as possible, using the hips to take the impact out of the knees. So they're coming here, hop, box jump, take it back down, hurdle hop, box jump. So there are some individuals who might have a little bit of a mental block with a box itself. So again, you can try using a smaller box for their box jump, or if they really just have a mental block, they don't want to jump up onto anything, you can have them just do a hurdle hop into a squat jump. For any of our individuals that don't want to hop, you can have them do a step, 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 knee drive, take it back down. So getting a little creative with keeping a somewhat similar movement, but taking that impact out for those individuals who don't want to jump or can't jump. For the single arm swing, high pull snatch, it's gonna be a sequence. So you're gonna come here in that nice strong triangular setup. So you're 2 feet back, pack that shoulder, single arm swing, keeping that shoulder tight, high pull, and then snatch. Okay, for this one, they can rack it down, take it back under, keeping that elbow tight for the high pull, keeping elbow in as they come up, or you can have them snatch down, okay? So from the side, in slow motion, if I'm going single arm swing, I'm staying nice and tall with that shoulder packed. I'm gonna let it come down. I'm bending the elbow to let that bell float right about eye height, taking it back down, keeping that elbow in really tight to then punch all the way through, finding the top of the snatch. If you notice that they are coming backwards, right, it could be a couple of things. One of which, the bell might be too light. So if they're driving a lot with their hips and the bell is really light, the momentum is going to throw that arm back. Okay, the other thing is they could be on the snatch casting the bell out, so now they're getting this big arc. Okay, so for that, play around with putting something in front of them so that they're keeping that elbow in tight for the high pull as well as for the snatch. Or play around with changing the bell weight for them, okay? Because you want to make sure that the drive from the hips is equally balanced with the weight of the bell. So with that one, you can have them alternate sides throughout that time, or at the halfway point, right, they start with the right side, halfway they switch to the left side. Whatever feels comfortable. For the strength block for day A, we're gonna have a pendulum lunge, and then we're gonna have a concentric push-up, okay? I personally really like a pendulum lunge because it feels really rhythmic, and I think it kind of helps people find their pace. I realize how ironic it is saying that I like movement that's rhythmic when I have no rhythm, but it's fine. It's a goblet, so you're gonna use that 2-hand clean again, coming into that nice, tall, strong position here where they're staying nice and stacked, shoulders over hips. They're going to take themselves forward into that forward lunge, taking it right back into the pendulum. So it's the same leg working in both directions. So for this one, they're gonna work halfway, come back to that middle point, switch, finding that nice pendulum, whoops, on the other side. Making sure they don't drop their hip like that, So if you start to see that their hip is dropping, right, help them find a better position for their feet. Tell them to slow down the movement, or perhaps they need to go lighter on the belt weight, okay? Like I said, I don't have rhythm, but I like the movement. The next exercise in your strength block is gonna be your concentric push-up. So concentric is when the muscle is shortening. So really what we're doing is just pushing ourselves from the floor back to the top, okay? So what's gonna happen is you're gonna have them get all the way to the floor, okay? Get all the way to the floor. You're gonna tuck those toes, right? Because we need to create tension at the bottom if we're gonna hit a push-up without losing the midsection, okay? So when they push up, we don't want them to kind of come up in sections. So hands are gonna be right under the shoulders, tucking the toes, squeeze the quads, squeeze the glutes, bracing that belly. So they should feel their belly pushing against the floor. That's gonna help create a good brace so that when they come up to the top of the push-up, big inhale, they're coming up as uniform as possible, kind of letting them come down to their knees, walking themselves back to the floor to then find that brace all over again. Lots of tension. Big drive up, okay? So this is gonna be kind of tricky for people at first. It might feel a little awkward. The biggest thing is making sure they're creating all that tension at the bottom, okay? So hands on the floor, under the shoulders, pointer fingers should be parallel. That slight rotation outward so that you feel those lats lock in down the spine. Squeezing the quads, squeezing the glutes, toes are tucked. Big inhale, bracing the core against the floor, and then power drive, exhale to the top, okay? So if anybody doesn't feel comfortable doing it from the ground and they want to use an elevated surface, you can do the exact same thing. You're just gonna have them put their chest on the box. So they're starting here. Everything else is still the same. They're able to get a little bit more connection through the legs here, and then they're just doing that piece. Coming back down. Big inhale to find that nice brace. Exhale as they drive back up so that that spine stays nice and flat, okay? I really like this drill as a way to build power in a push-up. So even if one of the members is not doing standard regular push-ups on the floor, try to encourage them to try this from the ground because it might help them build a lot more confidence and they might be able to grow into a full push-up a lot sooner than maybe they thought. So it helps them get a lot more of that driving power. And it's a good opportunity for us to help them build their confidence in these challenging bodyweight movements. The last grouping here for day A is a balance and bodyweight block. So we're gonna have an iso clamshell with a banded row. So I have this row band anchored really where my phone is. And what you wanna do here is have them find a clamshell. So for the clamshell, if they were to look at themselves from the top, you would want shoulder, hip, and knee all in a straight line, okay? So they're gonna come find their side plank here, and then for that iso part, they can lift that knee slightly. They don't wanna be here, okay? So I don't know how well you can see that on the camera. So for the clamshell, you wanna be neutral, slight lift, okay? If they lift higher, see how I start to rotate back? So as soon as they start to rotate back, they're using different muscles of the hip. We really want to target the side of the hip here, okay? So they can do an iso hold without a band, or you can have them add a band. That band's gonna go right above the knees. So what they're gonna do, again, squeeze those glutes forward, finding that nice neutral side plank on the knees, packing that shoulder, they're gonna find that nice strong row. Okay, exhale as they pull in, making sure they're connecting the rib cage here so we don't want to see a flare forward, right? So sometimes people might over contract the glutes and now we're losing that connection in the rib cage, okay? So making sure people are really nitpicky with this so that the members are getting exactly what they need to out of this exercise. Your second exercise for this block is going to be a hero board lateral lunge. So for this, you're gonna have them stand beside the hero board. One foot goes on, so those wheels are gonna be going side to side. You're gonna load this leg here, really reaching as far out as you can. Exhale as you come tall, okay? You're gonna get a little bit more work on the adductors with that moving leg being on the hero board. Exhale as you come tall. Again, same as any of our other split squat motions, making sure that they're not becoming very knee dominant. So that trunk should be coming forward slightly so that they have a little bit more load through the hip and they're balanced between hip, knee, and ankle versus overloading that knee coming too far forward, okay? For this one and for the clam, they'll switch at that halfway point, making sure they stay even on both sides.